Hello and welcome. I'm Tafara Gadamu. The national parks in Ethiopia seem to need some serious attention. Are the challenges they face manageable? My guest, the Director General of the Ethiopian Wildlife Conservation Authority, Kumera Wakjira, says they are. But stakeholders need to be committed. How? A very warm welcome to the program, Kumera.
Thank you very much.
So you are managing 13 parks?
Exactly. Directly, but overall, as a country, we do have about 29 national parks today. And we are also, as a federal government, responsible to provide technical support in terms of capacity building, even for the rest 60 national parks, which are directly managed by the regional governments.
So for this interview, for this conversation, I want to concentrate on a few national parks. And first comes the oldest national park to be gazetted, the Awash National Park, for all intents and purposes, no more.
Yeah, that's true, and which is very sad as well. And as you mentioned, Awash National Park is the first national park in the history for Ethiopia. And during the establishment of this national park, there were a lot of wildlife species, especially Awash National Park is popular for large population of oryx, Bexa oryx, which was by then estimated at even more than 6,000. And today,
you barely see them.
Very few hundred left, and that's very sad. And but we have been struggling to save this historical national park.
Is there any way of saving it?
Yeah, it's not as such very complex. It's all about commitment from all stakeholders, especially from the regional government, because the role to play for them is very, very key and very fundamental. So we expect a lot the commitment from Oromia region and then from the Afar region, because the Awash National Park is a trans-regional national park. When you look at the challenge on the ground, there is no such permanent settlement, agriculture.
But there are schools, there are clinics within the perimeters of the national park, basically that make those settlements permanent.
Yeah, specific to Awash National Park, of course, so far there are no, permanent social infrastructure. Of course, in nearby adjacent Kabbales, there are those social infrastructure, as you mentioned, school and the health post. But inside...
And it has become a grazing area, right?
Yeah, the major challenge for Awash National Park is overgrazing from the livestock, because the surrounding communities are pastoral in terms of their mode of life. So they largely depend on large herds of camel and livestock. So that is the challenge, the main challenge for Awash National Park, which could easily be managed. Of course, we have been, carrying out a lot of discussions and dialogue with the local communities just to, minimize the pressure. But
what do they say?
They understand very well that the park is, very, very critical, important even for them, especially during the long dry season, because that is the only hot spot where they bring even the livestock for grazing. They understand the value of, but also what they claim, they need alternatives in terms of pasture land, in terms of water supply for them, which is not directly our business. And then that's why the engagement of other stakeholders very, very, very critical.
But how easy could that be, though? Because as you said, that park is shared by two regions, right? The Afar and the Oromia regions, right?
Yeah.
look at what happened in the Simei National Park, which falls under the jurisdiction of one regional state. The Simei National Park, a few settlers, a few villages, to resettle a few villages. There was, you had to inject what? Hundreds of millions of birr. That is not an easy task.
Exactly, we did that one 8 years ago, where the government paid nearly more than 200 million birr as a means of compensation for the people who evacuated from the park. Yes. What makes very complex and difficult when the park lies in two or more regions, bringing together those, there are different interests. And then when, you deal with one region, the interest comes from one side.
Exactly.
That is a difference.
So that makes your intervention a lot more difficult. It wouldn't be as easy.
Yes. When we have national parks, lying in two or more regions, it makes our conversation and our discussion more complex, and then rather than dealing with one region.
Also, similar thing is happening with the Netchar National Park, although not on that scale as the scale in ours in terms of destruction, but it is shared by two regional states.
Yeah, in general, dealing with,
it basically faces the same.
Yeah, sometimes, you push forward and then you find, things are progressing, and then on other occasion, and there are a lot of circumstances which determine, the expected outcome from your effort, from all these interventions you are carrying out, and then sometimes it regresses back to almost zero. So yes, as you mentioned, long time since dealing with issue related to Netchar National Park has started. Even it goes beyond 20 years. There are people permanently settled inside the boundary of the national park, especially the eastern boundary of the national parks. And the initiative taken by Oromia region and then the southern region by then, to some extent, brought up a promising result, whereby some community even evacuated voluntarily from the park, and then other, especially from the Oromia side, still left inside, and then consequently later on, again. Made the issue complex, and then even those who voluntarily got evacuated from that boundary, claiming to even come back and then claim the place where they used to live. Issues, it rolls, and then. Always complex, but we keep on, addressing those issues with the engagement of stakeholders. As I mentioned at the beginning, the commitment from the regional government is very critical, very fundamental to, bring everlasting solution.
So basically, are you saying that the commitment is not there?
It sometimes on, off, it comes up and goes down, and, it's not persistent. This issue, entails persistent, position and engagement. There is, as you know, high turnover on officials. And then when new official, comes, and then issue become fresh, and then you have to, inform and several times, and then, it revolves such way. Even very recently, 3-4 years ago, we established a multi-stakeholder forum, which involved both regions, Oromia and then the southern region, through the initiative taken up by Haile Mariam Roman Foundation. And then we had, a big forum in Arba Minj, and to the extent We signed even an MOU just to evacuate settlers from the park and then redemarcate and then gazette Necessar National Park. But all of a sudden,
after signing of the memorandum of understanding, nothing happened.
No progress made because the issues we are experiencing in the country, hampering. Things not to progress and then move forward.
Same story again in eastern Ethiopia. Look at the Babile Elephant Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Now it's facing serious challenges. How many hundreds of hectares have been allotted for private agricultural investment recently? And this is a good chunk of the elephant sanctuary, which falls under the jurisdiction of two regional states, the Somali and the Oromia regional states.
Exactly right. We are experiencing the same issues, the same challenge. That's why I mentioned at the very beginning that when you deal with those parks which falls in two or more regions, it's more complex. There are varied interests coming from both sides. The same problem happening in Babile Elephant Sanctuary, where we have a unique elephant population, which is that is the last
about 200.
Yeah, that's the last eastern elephant population, even continent-wise. That's a challenge, and then really, and it's a concern. And then not only the recent investment which is allocated by Oromia region, but also even the sanctuary is almost invaded.
And now I think there are 15,000 people settled within that enclave, yes. And 150 animals, pack animals, and so on. And so it's basically overcrowded.
Yeah, it's overcrowded. That's why I just used the term invaded. Almost, I could express it that way, because almost no place left for elephant to step, because the entire habitat for elephant, fully occupied by the community there. And then, in addition to this, recently, 3 months ago, we heard that Oromia region allocating some 200 hectares for private investors, which is not totally acceptable and very illegal. And then, of course, following this incidents, we quickly reacted, and then urging the region just to reverse the decision
and
then evacuate the investor who's been given
and
that portion of land. And then we are pushing. Of course, the region also.
They're supposed to talk to you before even taking such an action, right?
That should have been done, but it didn't. So we never gave up, and then we pushed the region to positively react and then stop the person who's been given the land to just cultivate inside the prime habitats of few remaining elephant population.
So what
sanctuary? We heard that so far the step being taken by the region is very positive, and they established a team of experts, of course, which involved our expert as well, to jointly move to the ground and check, because initially they responded no, that specific sites not within the boundary of the sanctuary, but we just said no, it's inside. So we formed a team of experts to verify the information on the ground. So they came up with a GIS result indicating that yes,
it's actually
it's actually inside. So the region realized it's a wrong decision, and then I think the report is being submitted to a responsible person who just revoke the decision. Yeah.
So what are other than what you just mentioned, what are the challenges that you face in terms of managing your parks?
There are multiple challenges, which the driving force, as we all know, linked to, rapid population growth as a country, which also, increased demands for land. And also, on the other side, poverty level also, it's an issue. And although there is high demand growing for land resource. So that is, the driving force. Following this driving force, almost, even though to some extent the degree of the threat level varies from one park to another park, almost all of them have been experiencing, overgrazing and then agricultural expansion. And as we already talked, like in Babile, investment, which is not compatible with, compatible land use. And in some areas also, we face, poaching, illegal killing of especially elephant and then other. So I think those are the main challenge, which is related to, as I mentioned. So what should be the long-term solution for this one? As a nation, we should have a land use policy, and then land use policy which is governed by law, which has a strong law that can be forced, so that if as a nation we do have a master plan for land use, the boundary of the protected area could be also respected.
But there are separate master plans developed for each or for many of those parks. Wouldn't those master plans be a good start? For example, Babile, you had a master plan 10 years ago.
For national parks, we have, I could say, because protected area system by itself is one type of land use system. But this is not well recognized and then understood. So that, even the government itself and then the wider public consider, this protected area as, having, national master land use plan is very, very critical even to ensure sustainable development in this country. In our case, still we lack, including the policy. I think the only region, according to the information I have, which has already endorsed land use plan system is Gambela Regional State. Because of lack of this land use plan, and the system to govern how to properly use the land resource, our protected area system has been considered by even the government as open access, and then as no man land, so that it's free for everyone, even to go and then graze, to go and settle, go and then cultivate, and then to even allocate for an investment. That is, a critical problem, and then everlasting solution we expect in the future is, as a nation, to have land use policy, which governed by strong law. And
are your park rangers, are your staff in the parks motivated? Do they love what they do? Because that's very important. You earlier mentioned poaching. Unless you have a motivated staff, poaching would be the order of the day.
Yeah, you raised a very important point. Motivation, of course, our rangers, they love their job. They have a strong passion, towards, wildlife conservation. That's why they just sacrifice their life. And then it's a common experience that every year we miss 2 or even more rangers on the duty of line. by poachers. Still, they continue working because they have strong passion in their heart. But in terms of as a system, we don't have motivation or incentive package for them, and even with low salary. So yes, this is an issue, and there was a question so far.
What are you doing about that?
Yeah, what we have been doing so far, we did a study, and then we developed a document. We consulted the Commission for Civil Service, and they guided us at their level. They couldn't, approve the lifetime insurance or whatever for our rangers. So that should go to maybe the government, so that we prepare the document, and then we have submitted for an endorsement to just ensure at least life insurance for our rangers. But we are using another mechanism through which we keep the morale and then the motivation of our rangers, like presenting them to compete for award, for international award, for award at the continental level, and then each year 1 or 2 they are winning an award and then getting some prize.
Kumera Wakjira, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on my show.
I thank you also very much.